Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. An announcement. I see that many of you, I think all of you taking off your shoes, you know that it's not necessary. So if you, I know some feel uncomfortable if they don't take off their shoes, but if you are comfortable with it, then you can come in with shoes. Just accept this prayer area. You can sit there with shoes also. That's all right. So we are studying the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Sri Krishna is giving the central teaching about the Atman, about the self, what we really are. This is, maybe if there's one thing that you can take away from the Bhagavad Gita, it would be this one. The teaching about the Atman, that we are this immortal spiritual being. That old saying, we think we are human beings in search of spiritual experience, but the truth is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So what have we learned so far? Sri Krishna has said, verse 11, 12, 13, that the Atman is immortal, not subject to birth and death. One very big teaching. The body dies. The Atman, you, the self, Atman does not die. Then the 16th verse, even more stunning. The Atman alone is real. The world of appearances, this world is a world of appearances, including the body and even the mind. They are not independent realities. I will not explain. We have gone through it in detail. Not being independent realities, their reality depending on the Atman. This dependent reality, another term for that is falsity or mityaḥ. So that's what we saw in the 16th verse. The Atman is not only eternal, it is the only reality. And the non-Atman, the non-self, body, mind and the rest of the world, they are appearances in the Atman. Then 17th verse, we saw the Atman is, if it's the only reality, then whatever you experience must be the Atman. So it is all pervading. The word used was sarvam idam tatam. Everything that you experience is pervaded by the Atman. Contrary to what we normally think, Atman means the self. Come on in, come. The Atman means the self, but we normally think that there is something which is the non-self, that is other than me. Here we are taught that whatever you regard as other than you is in a deep sense nothing but you. So the Atman pervades everything. The self pervades the not self. That's the third thing we learned. That was in verse number 17. Another, these are all, each of them can take several lectures to probe. They're worth assimilating, and they are all counterintuitive. The 18th verse tells us the Atman is not an object. It's not an object. Aprameya. Aprameya means not an object of knowledge. It's not something that you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. It's not something that you infer. It's not something that is an object of scientific inquiry or religious belief. Rather, it is the pure subject. It is not the object of knowledge. Rather, it is a subject. It is not something that is known. Rather, it is the knower. Knower, yes. And which has many ramifications. When you look at it that way, then first of all, it points out clearly what the Atman is or where it is. Where means within quotes. And why we cannot see it as an object. Then the next verse, 19th verse. We saw that the Atman is not a doer of actions, nor is it the experiencer of the results of actions. In Sanskrit, akarta bhokta, it's not the karta, the doer, agent of action, Bhokta means the experiencer of the results of actions. So the Atman in itself is free of the law of karma, free of karma, cause and effect. It's beyond causality. So these are all extraordinary claims and all counterintuitive. It's very, it's natural for us to think that I'm born and I shall die. This seems to be the fundamental truth. And the first thing Krishna said that no, you are not born nor shall you die. You are immortal. Then the next thing which seems common to us is that here is a real, I don't know what I am, but the world here is very real. Just the opposite. You are the reality and the world is your appearance. Again, counterintuitive. I think, intuitively, I think I am here, small, a tiny part in a tiny speck in a vast universe. So limited in space, tiny, just here. So limited in time, born and dying. Neither limited in time nor limited in space. Counterintuitive, that you are the vast, you are unlimited. All pervading. And then again, when it says that you are not an object of knowledge, we have almost instinctive urge to objectify. Very understandable, because everything that we have known in our lives, and anybody has known in their life, there has been an object of knowledge. Either it's something that you have seen or heard or smelt or tasted or touched, or it's something that you have thought of, remembered, conceived, speculated about, proved, believed. They're all objects to consciousness. When you get what they're talking about, it's direct, it's very intuitive, it's very very blindingly obvious. But until that time, we tend to keep making this mistake. Whatever we are taught, we think it's some object which they're talking about. And in fact, I mentioned that once we begin to understand it's not an object, our reaction is, it doesn't exist then. Because everything that we have experienced as existing is an object. So we go into nihilism or emptiness, shunyata. No, the Atman does exist. It is you and it's not an object. It's not an object. But look at our language. Even the word it is an object word. It. It, that. Then the next one. Akarta bhokta. What could be more natural than thinking of yourself as the doer of actions? And we think of ourselves as, I enjoy, I suffer. I am the enjoyer, I am the sufferer. And he says, no, you are not the doer, nor are you the enjoyer or the sufferer. Then next. 20th verse? Yeah. So please chant after me. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् nāyaṃ bhūtvā bhavitā vā na bhūyaḥ nāyaṃ bhūtvā bhavitā vā na bhūyaḥ ajo nityaḥ śāśvato.ayaṃ purāṇo ajo nityaḥ śāśvato.ayaṃ purāṇo na hanyate hanyamāne śarīre na hanyate hanyamāne śarīre. So the self, Atman. Remember, whenever we were talking about the self, it means you. You might, because the mind is very tricky, I might end up saying, yes, I understand, my self is wonderful, but I have some problems. Self means you. It, the self, is not born and it does not die at any time. It does not again come into existence by being born. It, the self, is birthless, constant, eternal and ancient. It is not slain when the body is slain. So this is the meaning of the verse. As we go a little deeper into this, it becomes very interesting. Before I forget, let me tell you that I was studying my copy of the Shankara Bhashya, the commentary by Shankaracharya. So I found a note there in my handwriting. So I don't know where I got it from. It's not Shankara who said that. It says, you see, in philosophy, at least in Indian philosophy, punarukti is a dosha. Punarukti means repetition. So if you say the same thing over and over again, it's considered a fault. It should not repeat something. Now here it seems to be a clear case of repetition. It's not born, it does not die, one. He says the same thing. It's not that it was existing and it died and then again came into existence. That means being born and dying. Then again it says it is not born, ajob, unborn. It is eternal, does not die, it is not killed. When the body dies, it does not die. So it seems to be a case of 3 times repetition. Once it is said, neither born nor dying. Second again, and third again. So the note which I found, it said that it's not actually a case of repetition. It is pratigya hetu nigamana. What does it mean? In logic, Indian logic, the way an argument is framed is in a syllogism. Okay, now I have to explain what a syllogism is. Those who are students of logic or philosophy, you know that. So the classic one in Aristotelian logic, when you say all men are mortal, the classic example. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. So 3 statements. The 2 are given to you, and the third one you derive from it. The first 2 are all men are mortal. Second one, Socrates is a man. And therefore, what do you derive from this? Socrates must be mortal. So this is called a syllogism, the form of the argument. There are different forms of argument. Now this very thing in Indian philosophy, nāyaṃ, logic, this very thing is done not in 3 parts. 2 premise, major premise, minor premise, and the conclusion. 1, 2, 3. Socrates, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, and Socrates is mortal. But in 5 parts. So in Nyaya philosophy in India, the syllogism has 5 parts. The first one is called pratigya. Pratigya means that which is to be proved. Let me give an example. It will make things clear. The classic example, those who have studied Indian philosophy, you know that the classic example is, there is fire on the hill because there is smoke. So you can see smoke. You don't see the fire. You see the smoke. It's not a hill here. Suppose there's a fire on a skyscraper, and the fire department, clanging and the sirens blaring. The fire department, fire trucks go rushing by. They haven't seen the fire yet, but they see the smoke. Now, by seeing you're seeing smoke. That is direct perception, and you are inferring fire. You know there is fire. How do you know? Did you see it? No. What did you see? Smoke. And you know that there is a connection between smoke and fire. With putting these 2 together, the seeing the smoke and the knowledge of smoke and fire go together. You infer that there is fire, and then you go out to put it. So the classic example in Indian philosophy is Parvato vanniman dhūmāt. There is fire on the hill because there is smoke. Because I see smoke. So the first sentence is, what do you want to prove? I want to prove that there is fire on the hill. That is called the first sentence. That is called hetu. That is called pratigya, the thing to be proved. Then the second sentence is called hetu. The second sentence is hetu. Hetu means cause. Cause. What is the cause? Dhūmāt, because of seeing fire, because there is smoke. And why is this a cause? It says, yatra yatra dhūmaha, yatra yatra vannihi tatra tatra dhūmaha. Wherever there is fire, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. Yatra yatra dhumah tatra tatra vanni. Wherever there is smoke, there must be fire. So this is called vyapti. Vyapti is a Sanskrit word. If you translate it into English, it becomes even more complicated. It means invariable concomitance. Literally, it means two things go together. So if you see one, you are sure of the other. If you see smoke, you're sure of the fire. Not the other way around. There may be fire without smoke. So they give the example of, today you might have a heater, for example, which is hot, but there's no smoke there. But there's smoke, there is fire. And then, peculiar to Indian logic, they have to give an example. You have to say, where did you see this? What is an agreed upon example? So they will say, yatha mahana, say, as we saw in the kitchen. There's fire and smoke together. So this sentence is called udaharana. How many have we got so far? Pratigya, thing to be proved. Second, hetu, the cause. Third one, example, udaharana. And there's a fourth one, which need not concern us too much. It's just a matching. It just says, as that case, fire and smoke in the kitchen, so also this case, fire and smoke on the hill. It must be a similar case, otherwise you can't apply. That's the fourth sentence. There's a technical term for that. And the last sentence, why I'm saying this is a conclusion, nigamana. The last sentence is simply a restatement of the first sentence. Like in geometry proofs you do, therefore, QED. So therefore there is fire on the hill. Nigamana. Nigamana means conclusion. The conclusion is just the restatement of the thing to be proved, the first sentence. Now you have 5 sentences. First one, thing to be proved. Second one, the reason thereof. Third one, example. Fourth one, matching the cases. And fifth one is restating the thing to be proved, which is conclusion. Now, 3 of these are found here. First one, pratigya, thing to be proved. Second one, the reason. And third one, the conclusion. So, all of this reason I'm giving this little lesson in Indian logic is, I just found this little note today. I don't know when I wrote it, maybe years back or decades back. It just says, one, pratigya, first quarter, pratigya, second quarter, hetu, third quarter, nigamana, hence no repetition. That's what it says. So actually the thrice it has been repeated here. Same thing has been said. Neither born nor dies. Again, neither born nor dies. And again, unborn, undying. But the first one is what they want to say. Second one is the reason thereof. And therefore, conclusion thereof. So that way. All of it entirely useless. It's just that I just found it, so I thought it was interesting to share. They had a lot of time on their hands, I think. All right. So what does it say? First it says, the Atman is not born, nor does it die. We have already seen this. And then it says, it's not as if having existed at some time, then you died and then you are reborn again. This is what is called ordinarily, coming into being, going out of existence, and again coming back into being. This is not true of the Atman, of you as pure consciousness. And then a series of adjectives is used. Ajaha. Ajaha means the unborn one. So because it is not born, the Atman is not born with the birth of the body. When the body is born, it's not that you are born. You existed before the coming into being of the body. So therefore, your name is, the Atman's name is Ajaha. Ajaha means the unborn one. Normally when we use the word unborn in English, it means somebody who doesn't exist, was never born. But here it means somebody who exists all the time, does not come into existence by birth. So the body is born, but you are not born along with it. You existed. The next word used is nityaḥ, the unchanging or eternal. It means, here in this case, with the death of the body, you do not die. With the death of the body, you do not die. Śāśvato, eternally unchanging, literally means undecaying. Purāṇa. The word Purāṇa in Sanskrit, it means purāpi nava, though ancient, ever fresh. And then it says again, na hanyate hanyamāne śarīre, is not destroyed by the destruction of the body. What's going on here is the Sanskrit lexicographer. You know what that is? Dictionary, those who compile lists of words. The Sanskrit lexicographer Yaska, who lived, I think, more than 2,000 years ago. So he's compiled one of the first dictionaries of the world. And he is well known for compiling this set of 6 changes. He says worldly things, especially our body, it undergoes 6-fold changes. In Sanskrit, षड्विध vikara, 6-fold changes. What are the 6 changes? Change number 1, birth, jāyate, birth. Change 2 is a bit peculiar. Having been born, it comes into existence. If you think about it, it sounds a strange way of putting it, but actually if you think about it, it is quite correct. That which was not there is now there. So that's a change, right? So it's called asti. Jāyate, born. Asti, comes into existence. Vardhate, grows. Grows. So a baby, a kid, a little boy or girl, a teenager, grows. Then the 4th one is viparinamate, matures and keeps on changing in middle age, reaches a plateau of development. And then apakshiyate, degenerates, ages, hits 40. So goes downhill, degenerates, body starts decaying. And then finally, nashyati, dies, destroyed. So these are the 6-fold changes according to Yaska, the ancient lexicographer. 6-fold changes you would expect of a body. Now what has happened here is, if you look carefully, these terms are used to deny those 6 changes of you, the Atman. So by saying ajaha, unborn, it denies that, it denies the first change, birth. And then nityaḥ, it denies the last change, death. Nitya means eternal, it does not die. So it denies the last change, death. Then śāśvato, the undecaying, it denies the 5th change, decay. Purāṇo, ever fresh. It does not grow as such. It is eternally fresh. So Purāṇo means it denies the 3rd change, that is vardhate, grows. So, and it's already said, and the in-between change, that it matures and remains at a steady state for some time. The last one, na hanyate hanyamāne śarīre. Here a little bit of magic is done with grammar. Shankaracharya, the commentator, he says the verb hanyate, han, can also represent change. So it means it's a denial of the 4th change, that is the plateau. It reaches a certain viparinamate, it reaches a certain level of development and remains there for some time. And the second one, that not having existed comes into existence, not being there comes into existence, that has already been denied by the 3rd quarter, that it was not there and it came into existence by birth. So my point is, what this verse is doing, though it looks like repetition, what this verse is doing, it denies the 6-fold changes common to the body. It denies those 6-fold changes of the Atman. Yes.
What's the difference between Atman and Brahman?
Oh, okay. In Advaita Vedanta, no difference. Atman literally means the self, you. And Brahman, if you look at the derivation, literally the word bringa, the root means the vast. It means the vast. Now, why use 2 words if they mean the same thing? The reason is, when you look into yourself, the reality that you discover, I am, what I am really, which is what we are talking about, that is called Atman. Atman literally means self, the essence. And if you investigate this universe, The reality that you discover, the reality of the vast, is called Brahman. And the conclusion of Advaita Vedanta is both of them are the same thing. Atman is Brahman. If you want to know Advaita Vedanta in one sentence, it's that Atman is Brahman. The great Mahavakyas, the profound sentences, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. That thou art means that Brahman, thou, the Atman, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, even more direct. I, the Atman, am Brahman. Prajnanam Brahma, this very awareness which you have, correctly understood and appreciated, is none other than the ultimate reality, Brahman. This awareness means you, what you find yourself inside, what we find, when we look inside, what we find ourselves to be, the Atman, that is actually Brahman. And another line from the Mandukya, Ayam Atma Brahma, again more direct, very direct. This very self is the ultimate reality, Brahman. So Atman and Brahman are the same reality. This is the central teaching of non-dual Vedanta. And if this is appreciated, understood and realized, it's enough to set you free. Spiritual freedom, moksha, nirvana, whatever you call it. This realization is enough. Why would this set us free from limitation, suffering, death? I'll give you a pointer. You can mull over it and see what it means to you. That we are sentient beings, we are awareness. There's no doubt about it, right? Nobody has any doubt that you are a thinking, feeling, knowing, aware being. Are you with me? Yeah, this is most important. But if you don't take this first step, next will not make any sense. I need to know that we are on the same page. Or you look confused. What are you talking about? Are you aware? And I mean aware in a very general sense. Are you a thinking, feeling, desiring, hating, loving being? Are you aware? Is there consciousness there? Yes. 1. 2. The problem, the human problem, put in its most general and fundamental form is that this consciousness which we find ourselves to be is a very limited consciousness. By limitation, I mean we are subject to death, we are subject to old age, we are subject to disappointment, we are subject to desiring without fulfillment. We have any number of limitations. This is the problem. Point number 2. Point 1, I am consciousness. Point 2, it's a very limited, disappointing consciousness. Are you with me so far? Would you agree with me that this is one way of stating the human problem? No? It's like, what is he talking about? My problem is the traffic on the way back from, and I'm worried about Lincoln Tunnel. That is limitation. That is limitation. That's what I'm talking about. Any practical problem in your life, that's limitation. So that's the second thing. What solution Advaita Vedanta provides here is when you say Atman is Brahman, you know what they're trying to say. This very consciousness that we know ourselves to be, you know yourself to be, this is unlimited consciousness. This consciousness is not subject to the limitations we think it is subject to. And to educate us into the nature, the real nature of ourselves, that's what Advaita Vedanta is doing. I'll repeat. 3 points. Freedom and enlightenment in 3 points. 1 is we are conscious beings. We are conscious. 2nd, it's a very limited, disappointing consciousness. 3rd, we are wrong. It's not a limited, disappointing consciousness. It's actually infinite, unlimited consciousness. There is no problem at all. That's what Advaita Vedanta wants to show us. That's the meaning of Atman is Brahman. If you don't seem convinced, then you have to keep coming to the class. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna continuously. All these things. What did he say? You, the conscious being Arjuna, you don't die. First thing he said. You are the only reality. The entire universe is an appearance in you. Second thing. Atma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Third thing. You pervade everything that you experience. You are not a tiny spark of consciousness in a vast, uncaring universe. Rather, the entire universe that you experience is within you, the experience. Even in the language that I'm using, if you notice carefully, entire universe which you experience. You pervade it all. You are the vast. You are not tiny. Number 4. What was number 4? The Atman it's not an object. It's not an object. Aprameya, it's not an object of knowledge. And that has many ramifications. And so on. It's not a doer, not an sufferer. And now it is saying, this 20th verse is saying, the Atman is not subject to the 6-fold changes which the body is subject to. That's what it just said. If somebody says, you're too polite to say it, but somebody might object that these adjectives, you are just fitting them into the 6-fold changes. That śāśvato, purāṇo, how do you know that it is denying the second change or the third change or something like that? Well, you take your complaints to Shankaracharya. I've got the interpretation from Shankara's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. All right. Having said this, 21st verse. Vedāvināśinaṃ nityaṃ, vedāvināśinaṃ nityaṃ, enamajamavyayam, enamajamavyayam, kathaṃ sa puruṣaḥ pārtha, kathaṃ sa puruṣaḥ pārtha, kam ghātayati hantikam, kam ghātayati hantikam. Whom, O Partha, can that person who knows this self, Atman, to be imperishable, constant, birthless and immutable, slay or cause to be slain, and how? So this is the verse. Remember, the language of slaying and cause to be slain is because the context is the battlefield. It basically means action. How can this pure, unchanging consciousness be a doer of actions? How can it be an agent of action? That's what he's asking. It starts with a word, Veda. Know this. Very important. What is the method of Advaita Vedanta? What are we supposed to do? Veda here means to know, to realize. The whole point of spirituality, according to Vedanta, is to realize. Realize the teaching. As against what? Are you supposed to believe? Are you supposed to meditate or pray or go on pilgrimages or subscribe to a particular faith or church? What we normally associate with religion. What Vedanta says is all of those may be useful and helpful, but that's not the point. The point is use all of that to realize this truth. As Swami Vivekananda said, each soul is potentially divine, and the goal is to manifest this divinity already within us. Do it by meditation, do it by service, do it by love, do it by knowledge. In fact, he said do it by philosophy. Do it by philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. So that is the purpose of religion. And then he goes on to say books, temples, doctrines and churches are secondary details. So this realization which sets you free, this is the whole purpose of Vedanta, and I dare say of all spirituality, everywhere. Bible says, know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Basically this thing, realization. Notice I'm making a slight distinction between knowledge and realization. It's not just knowing it, because you can claim, now I know it. Now I know it. I attended the class, I read the book. I even memorized the verse. Yeah. I downloaded the talk. So now I know it. Yeah. I spent countless hours on YouTube. So now I know it. So am I free? Am I enlightened? No. What remains is, this knowing, while important, has to be deepened into realization, which is first-person experience. I must be honestly able to claim, not that the Atman is immortal, Atman is real, the Atman is all-pervading. No, I am immortal. I am the reality of which the universe is an appearance. I must be honestly able to claim this, to see this. Not claim it just as a slogan, but actually to see it. So there the knowledge has been assimilated into realization. Swami Vivekananda says, tell yourself again and again that I am that Atman, till that this thing, it tingles with every drop of your blood, till it becomes a living reality. It's not brainwashing. It is something that you have understood. It must be converted into a living reality. Just as we, without any doubt, think that we are bodies right now, at that time, without any doubt, we will see ourselves as an unlimited, immortal consciousness. The spirit, not the body. So that is realization. And that can be done. The Vedanta process is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. You listen to this, study it. Step 1. Step 2, think it through. Every possible doubt, one has to stay with it for some time and see what doubts come up. I have seen in long-standing students, questions begin to crop up. The answers to which has been given. I mean, every other class we give the answers actually. But the question first comes after a long time. Then only the answer makes sense. That is the process of mananam. In fact, there's a deeper process of mananam, that is reflection, where you try to live your life according to what you have studied. Where you try to live your life according to what you have studied. In that process, there will be struggle. And in that struggle, that is basically spiritual practice. Things fall into place. When you stay with that insight, this is called the third stage, meditation, nididhyasanam. That leads to the moment of awakening, where you see, it is so. It has always been so that I am this unlimited consciousness. So all this is meant by the word Veda. Realize yourself as this. It's already there. You are already this. We have hypnotized ourselves into believing that we are these little bodies, little cages of flesh and bone. Swami Vivekananda again and again he would say, if only you knew yourselves as you are, as you really are. What would happen if we knew ourselves as we really are? All our problems would be solved. Not that at the physical level, at the practical level. If you become enlightened, would it solve the problem of getting a ticket on your car in the wrong parking? No. You'd still have to pay the ticket. But the deepest problem, this problem of very human existence, that is solved. You know yourself as beyond all problems. Veda, you realize yourself. As what? Again a series of adjectives is given. Avināśinaṃ, indestructible. Nityaṃ, eternal. Ajam, unborn. Avyayam, undecaying. You see, again those changes are negated here. If you are avināśi, you are not subject to death. If you are nitya, here it means undecaying. You are not subject to the fifth modification, old age and decay. If you are ajam, unborn, clearly you are not subject to the modification called birth. Avyaya, you are not subject to the modification called growth or development. You are one unchanging. Such puruṣaḥ, such a consciousness. How can such a consciousness engage in action or reap the results of action? It leads to the question then, who engages in action? It is this consciousness alone. There's nobody else who engages in action. It's this consciousness alone, forgetting its true nature, identifying with body and mind, becomes the jiva, the sentient being who engages in action and suffers the results of action. Are you all right so far? Yes.
Krishna keeps telling Arjuna he needed to fight, but he's not the doer.
Right. So he'll come back to the same conclusion again. So if you're not the doer, the action will continue. At the level of body and mind, everything will continue as the world continues. It's not that what you have to realize is, even though acting through body and mind, you are truly the untouched, non-acting consciousness. Right? That is what has to be realized. He is not telling you, that's what Arjuna wanted to do, he wanted to give up all this and go away to the mountains and meditate and be a mendicant, a beggar. He says, no, that's not the way. That is also being trapped in action. He will tell later on, giving up action is not attaining to the state of the non-doing consciousness. The non-doing consciousness is always there, even in the midst of intense action. The most intense action can go on and you realize you are the consciousness which does not do anything. Many examples can be there. Imagine a screen on which a movie is being played. In the movie, intense action is going on. It could be an adventure or something like that, There could be storms or a fire or something. Tremendous action is going on. Yet from the point of view of the screen, nothing is happening. Another example, imagine your dreams. Recall your dreams. Imagine a dream which was a really happening kind of dream. Lots of things happened. Yet you can claim with absolute honesty, when you wake up, what can you claim? Nothing happened. Nothing really happened. Because that was not actually from the point of view of the waker, none of those things happened. In the dream it did happen, but when you wake up from out of it, you realize it didn't happen. Analogously, can you imagine yourself to be that light in which all of these things appear, work out, play out, and disappear back again? From the point of view of the light, nothing has happened. Yeah.
So why does it matter if he fulfills his dharma or he does nothing? Either way, nothing's really happening.
To Brahman, it does not matter. From Brahman's point of view, from the point of view of pure being, it really does not matter. It matters from society's point of view. It matters at this level. All these non-dual teachings, they talk about two truths. An absolute truth and an apparent truth. Apparent truth or transactional truth. So, for example, right now we are sitting here and studying Vedanta. What level is this? It's apparent truth, transactional truth. It's called vyavaharika, transactional truth. And at the level of transactional truth, all of it works. There is causality, there is karma, there is good, there is evil, there are things to be done. Things can get better, things can get worse. And the solution proposed by Advaita Vedanta is identify yourself with the absolute and act in the relative. You cannot not act in the relative. What will you do with this body and mind even when you realize that you are Brahman? What will you do? Right now what you are doing is, I do not know myself as that infinite awareness. I know myself as a very limited conscious being, and I'm trying to do the best I can. This is our life right now. What they are proposing is, if you investigate, we will show you how you are that unlimited awareness, not affected by birth and death, not affected by the vicissitudes of life, and yet you're in the midst of life. Now that's a very enjoyable position, enviable position also. When you know you are perfectly safe, then you can play the game to the hilt. In fact, then an ethical, moral life becomes possible. What have you got to be afraid of? What can tempt you? What can scare you? Nothing. The consequences of that, you're asking about why should one act then? The consequences of that, one good way of understanding is if you look at people you consider to be enlightened. What did they do with their lives? And you'll get a wide array of answers. If you look at Raman Maharshi, he sat in a cave. Though his very presence was a blessing. There have been enlightened people whom nobody has known about. They have disappeared from society without people knowing about them. On the other hand, there have been enlightened people who led lives of tremendous activity and whose blessings we are counting now. The great teachers of religion, the great leaders of social reform, many of them were spiritual masters. And they readily sacrificed their lives because they found something that was eternal. For them it did not matter, this little life. They found a oneness with everything. So our suffering became their suffering and they wanted to help us out of it. Therefore, he says, therefore fight. Therefore do your duty. Knowing the reality of yourself to be this, now do thou your duty. In Arjuna's case, it was fighting the good fight. In our case, we have our little battlefields, each of us. Does that address your question? Yeah. Realize yourself to be this, center yourself in this realization, then act. You say, why act? At the level of the body, mind, what else can you do? Yes.
So, acting at the body and mind level.
Yes.
The teaching is that you lead a
Moral and ethical life to the best level that is possible. Yes.
But if you fail once in a while,
That's perfectly all right.
just realize and complete. I just feel that there's a big contradiction in that statement, and because we are still living in the body and mind,
Yes.
you can just keep, I feel like pointing yourself to the absolute, but then slipping back. I mean, it's just like even if you became aware of it 100 times a day, you will point yourself to absolute, but still come down to the lower truth, as you say.
Right.
I just feel it becomes
True. And you're speaking, say, this is our experience. You would feel that this is how it's going to be. At the beginning, it may seem to be like that. But very soon you will see it is not so. Because somewhere deep inside is a feeling that I am this being and I'm trying to get hold of a theoretical absolute. So I keep slipping back into what I am. Very soon it will change into I am the absolute. I keep slipping back into habitual patterns of activity, habitual thought patterns. Very soon you will see all our slipping, our mistakes are because of past conditioning. It will be a very interesting but very difficult phase where what will happen is you are clear about this, that I am the unchanging consciousness. It's no longer theory. You see, this has to be the truth. And yet in life there is a struggle. And the struggle you will see is not because somehow I become the body-mind. No. You will see even when I think I'm the body-mind and I act accordingly, even then I'm not the body-mind. But I'm acting due to strong past conditioning. That deconditioning process takes time. But before that, what Vedanta says is that breakthrough is essential. What Vedanta tries to do is the breakthrough. See, there are two ways to it. One is the way of conventional, the way the conventional spiritual way is a lot of spiritual practice. Yes, you are the body-mind, you are this person. Now try to be an unselfish person. Try to be a truthful person. Try to be a disciplined person. Try to meditate twice a day, pray thrice a day or whatever. Have devotion, do good to others. So all these spiritual practices, they continue as what? What are you? I am this person. What are these spiritual practices doing from the point of view of Vedanta? They are preparing you for this insight. But a time will come when through these conventional spiritual practices, one makes a breakthrough and you have that insight. Clearly, suddenly there's a shift. The reference of the I, when I say I, it refers to body-mind, it changes. It refers to that witness consciousness, that unlimited consciousness we're talking about. You see, it must be so. Once it has changed, then those practices will still continue. You're still not a fully enlightened being. Those practices will still continue, but they are more like expressions of the truth. What you have found yourself to be, you see, this is the wise way of living. No longer to find this truth. You found it already. Now to establish yourself in that truth, you will see to act contrary to ethics, to act contrary to spiritual practices will seem contrary to what you have found. You have found yourself to be the witness consciousness, immortal, the only reality, and to act out of impulse, out of anger, out of hatred will seem very contrary to what you have found. Still you will keep on, that slipping will keep on happening. Why? Because the mind is conditioned. But less and less and less so. This is called the path of jnana yoga, difficult one. But this is also called the direct path. Every other path is indirect. Yes.
So, a very direct question. two enlightened being in this apparent world attain get awakening
Yes.
and realize the Brahman. So the two beings in the apparent world, they realize the same Brahman and then they keep slipping back into two individual beings in the apparent truth.
Yes, that is true.
So two apparent beings realize the same Brahman.
Of course. Right. There is only one reality. According to Advaita Vedanta, one non-dual reality. Did you notice in the 16th verse it says, the Atman is the truth or is a reality and the world is an appearance. It means it's a non-dual reality. That means there is no other reality. Not that there are many Atmans floating around. There's only one, that one consciousness in which the universe appears. Right. Are we all one or different? In the 13th chapter, Krishna will say, you are that consciousness other than body and mind. How many consciousnesses are there? He says there is only one consciousness here. One immortal consciousness, and know me to be that consciousness. Me means God. So in that one half a verse, he answers two questions. How many Atmans are there, or how many pure consciousnesses, how many spiritual realities are there? One. And the second question is, what is God in all of this? God is that spiritual reality. You will say, then you are saying I and God are one and the same? Yes, that's what it is saying. But I, not as this individual limited being, in your nature as true spiritual nature as the unlimited consciousness. That is what is God in Advaita Vedanta. In that sense, think about it. You are actually experiencing God right now. In every thought, in every feeling, in every experience of life. The material which you are experiencing is nothing other than the divine itself. Only under the limitation of our ignorance. Then, the 22nd verse. This is another of those verses which are chanted when somebody passes away, somebody dies. Very famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It says that as we go from life to death to other lives, it's like changing a suit of clothes. As you give up old clothes and put on a fresh suit of clothes, exactly like that we give up old bodies, decaying bodies, dead bodies, and go on to new bodies. 22nd. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya Navani grinhati naro purāṇi Navani grinhati naro purāṇi Tatha śarīrāणि vihaya jirnan Tatha śarīrāणि vihaya jirnan Anyāni sanyāti navāni dehi Anyāni sanyāti navāni dehi. Just as a person gives up worn out clothes and puts on other new ones, even so does the embodied self give up decrepit bodies and enter other new ones. So it's a well-known doctrine of the Gita, of Vedanta, that we go through many lives. Now, what is this going through many lives? What exactly happens? Krishna says, birth and death are nothing other than exchanging bodies. One body falls apart and you go on to get another body. So the example he gives is of clothes. Clothes are old or torn, so you discard them and buy new clothes. Friday sale? What a Black Friday? Black Friday, yes. Black Friday sale. So go and buy new ones. So God also has a Black Friday sale sometimes. You go and pick up new ones. Except that, in this case, you are doing it consciously. In our own lives, it's done by the law of karma. We do not have conscious control over it. What bodies we come into, when they will end, and what new bodies we will get, it's all determined by cause and effect. Everything that is happening now is an effect of which there are causes, and every cause that is set into motion will give rise to certain effects. Now, a little bit of basic Vedanta. Bodies, when you speak about bodies, from a Vedantic perspective, there are three bodies, not one. You have three bodies. One body is this physical one, the public one, which the doctor can check, the one which you sitting on the chair, this one. This is called gross body, not in the American sense of gross, physical, meaning physical, though it can be pretty gross if you especially if you cut it open and see what's inside. It can be pretty gross, but gross body means physical body. In Sanskrit, sthula sharira, body number 1. Second body, subtle body, sukshma sharira. It doesn't mean a particularly slim body. It means what you are experiencing right now. If you ask, what's the proof for the subtle body? Proof for the gross body or physical body? There's no need to ask this question. Everybody knows it exists. Here it is. But what is the proof of the subtle body? Again, you experience it all the time. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, all of that, all the first person experiences about yourself, the person you experience yourself to be, that's the subtle body. So why call it a subtle body? Why not? Why isn't it a part of the gross body? It is not. No scientist till now has been able to discover how, for a scientist, the physical body ends at the brain, at the neurons. That's it. How that translates into our mind, thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, clearly they are linked. But how? Nobody knows. I mean, many of you are studying biology, neuroscience, philosophy. Tell me, does anybody know? No. It's an amazing thing. Something that we experience all the time. That's our life. What's our life? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires. The way we are experiencing it inside. That's how we live our lives. We do not experience life as secretions from the kidney and the electrical movements in the brain. We do not. There's no doubt that it's happening in the body. No doubt about it. Science has investigated it in great detail. And all the physical systems of the body, definitely, enormous amount of knowledge we have. We experience none of it. What we experience inside, each of us right now, the first person experience, what are technically called qualia, subjective experiences, that's what is called the subtle body. There is good reason to call it a separate body. By your very observation, the two are of different nature. You can clearly see this physical body and what it feels like from inside, two different things. Think a thought, 2 + 2 is 4, or my name is Swami Sarvapriyananda, that's a thought. And touch this physical body. These are two different things entirely. So subtle body, sukshma sharira. What is the subtle body then? Physical body, we know it's made of hands and feet and legs and organs and organ systems and cells and so on. What's the subtle body? What are the parts of the subtle body? Vedanta says there are different ways of classifying. There are actually 19 parts to it. 19 parts. The 5 sense organs, not the physical organs, they are parts of the physical body. But the powers, the experiences you get of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. 5 sense organs, 5 motor organs, and what are called the 5 vital functions, pancha prana. That makes 5 + 5 + 5, 15. And then 4 parts of the mind. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. The mind itself, memory, the function of egotism or ego, and intellect. So these are the 4. Together, 19 parts. This comprises the subtle body according to Vedanta. There are different ways of classifying. Some make it 17. The Buddhists have a different way of classifying it and so on. But it's there. All Indian philosophies acknowledge that you are a subtle body inside a physical body. And there is a third one, according to Vedanta, third one, only figuratively called a body. It's called the causal body. Not casual body, causal body. The causal body is that barrier which transforms you, the infinite consciousness, Brahman, into this individual being. What could that be? It's just ignorance. It's called ajnana. Ignorance of our real nature. It's called the causal ignorance. That itself is taken as a body. It comes as a first covering or sheath. Then it's covered over by the subtle body. Then it's covered over by the physical body. Why am I saying all this? At death, it's the physical body which dies, which is discarded like an old pile of clothes. The subtle body continues. Subtle body is not born with birth, it does not die with death. It curls up into a little seed and then goes on until it finds another physical body where it can express itself. So that's the idea. You, what about you, the Atman? You are pure consciousness. You neither come or not go. You have identified, Atman has identified itself with so many causal bodies and subtle bodies. So it becomes millions and billions of what are called jivas, sentient beings. And each of these jivas gets different physical bodies and lives out its life, does karma, gets the result of karma, and the result of karma is expressed in newer and newer physical bodies. So this is the cosmic game which is going on. Actually, you are the infinite consciousness. You are not the three bodies. You are not the causal body, you are not the subtle body, you are not the physical body. At death, physical body dies, it is exchanged for new physical bodies. They need not be human. Black Friday sale, lots of different kinds of bodies are available. We go from life to life means from physical body to physical body. But we go means what goes? The subtle body goes. And the causal body also travels. These two travel together. Causal body is a technical point. We do not take it, we do not concentrate upon it. But the subtle body is something that we all experience. Right now we are experiencing it. Yes.
So when we say someone attains moksha, does the subtle body stops?
This is a very good question. So what is freedom? What is moksha? What is not moksha? This kind of existence is not moksha. So death is obviously not moksha. Death is not freedom. Because you still exist as a person. And you will go on. So in death, you do not die with death. You go on and you are existing as a person. It's not good news. From Vedantic, not only Vedantic, all Indian schools, it's not good news. It's the bad news actually. That you don't stop at death. We have existed earlier. We'll keep on existing as long as you want to. As long as you are having a good time, God says, go on, have a good time. When you say, no, I've had enough. I want to go back to my real nature. Then spiritual life starts for you. You get the bulletin of the Vedanta Society that there's a Gita class. Yes. Now let me complete that answer to that question. So then what happens at moksha? You see, these questions and answers, they are not for one person. So when one person is asking a question, don't switch off. Listen to the question and listen to the answer. Often the answer may be effective for you and not even for the person who asked. So the question is, what happens at moksha then? What are we aiming for? At moksha, the subtle body, which has been getting many newer and newer bodies, physical bodies, that subtle body is also dissolved. It's also made of nature. Physical bodies are made from nature, 5 elements. Subtle bodies are also material. It's very interesting. Vedanta would actually agree with science. Vedanta would say, yes, even the mind is material. But what is not material is the Atman, consciousness. It's an entirely different kind of reality. So that remains by itself, or you can say more figuratively, the individual being, the sentient being merges back into the absolute. But really there's no merging back. You are the absolute and you realize yourself as the absolute. You wake up from this dream or sequence of dreams. That's what happens. And when that happens, that is called enlightenment. But that subtle body in which the enlightenment has happened, that will continue for a little while because of past karma. Then you call that being an enlightened being. So that person becomes an enlightened master, enlightened teacher. And those are from Vedantic perspective, they are the teachers of religion. They are the great spiritual masters of humanity. Yes.
Isn't the causal body the first thing to go?
Yes. I'm not including the causal body here. It will complicate matters. And the causal body is something that Vedanta talks about more. But the subtle body is easily understandable. So the subtle body will continue until the karma which gave rise to this particular embodiment, until that is over, The physical body dies. Remember, all our physical bodies, not just enlightened beings, all these physical bodies we have, they are produced by our past karma, and so they will live as long as that particular portion of karma which has produced this body. When that is exhausted, this body will die. But lot of karma is accumulated. Our balances are not empty, so they will produce newer karma. And new karmas we have added to it in this life.
So, what are people seeing when they see visions of the saints or the great ones?
Well, some might retain. There are certain ones who retain their subtle bodies even after enlightenment. It's possible. They are the ones who are called eternally perfected ones. They exist. The bodhisattvas, or Sri Ramakrishna is to talk about nitya siddhas. But the general form of the problem, mathematics is the general form of the problem is this. You get free once there's enlightenment. At the death of that enlightened person, the death of the enlightened person means death of the physical body, and with that, the dissolution of the subtle body. Again, I'm not making this up. The Upanishads speak about it, that it says, just as the rivers run into the sea, the very poetic description of the passing of an enlightened one. As the rivers run into the sea and merge and become one with the sea, so also the 19 parts of the subtle body of this enlightened one, they run back into the vastness of nature and become one with it. The enlightened one remains as Brahman, as pure consciousness. Yes.
That means the three bodies, all of them are material.
All of them are material, yes.
Everything that have a name and a form is material.
It's material, yes.
Okay.
Right. And if you're interested, you can split these three bodies. This is again basic Vedanta. You can split, or you can analyze these three bodies into the 5 sheets. We have often talked about the 5 sheets. The food sheet, the physical body. The vital sheet. The mind sheet, the intellect sheet. And the bliss sheet. In Sanskrit, annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, anandamaya kosha. Can you match them with the 3 bodies? The food sheet is the physical body, gross body. So food sheath, annamaya kosha, is the physical body. Then the subtle body has 3 sheets in them. Pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya. That's the subtle body, the second body. The third body is the causal body. That is the anandamaya kosha. So the 5 sheets, as if there are 5 coverings to the Atman. You can imagine it that way, like nesting dolls. The 5 coverings to the Atman. You are none of them. So in Sanskrit or in Hindi, when the Vedanta teachers, they say, all of this which I'm saying, they would say it in half a phrase. Śarīre traya vilakshana, panchakosha vilakshana, satchidananda atma. Tum ho Maharaj. They will say, you, sir, are the pure consciousness, pure being, pure bliss. Not the distinguished from the 3 bodies, distinguished from the 5 sheets. You are this immortal being. Yet, right now you are existing embodied. And that's fun. Once you realize what you are, you have this nice vehicle to drive around. Cool vehicle. Yeah. It's not just a suit of clothes. It's a very sophisticated suit of clothes. It can do so many things. Many apps. It's a very, very sophisticated iPhone that you have got, that God has given you.
Are all these bodies technically Maya?
All of them are Maya, correct. They are all products of Maya. And technically they are all Brahman. You look at it this way. If Brahman is the only reality that exists, then all of these are also Brahman. It's because of Maya it appears to be not Brahman. The eternal appears to be the changing. The pure consciousness appears to be non-conscious object. That which is pure bliss appears to be a life of sorrow and misery. In between is Maya, the veil of Maya. Eliot, yes, I'll come to you, Bill. Eliot put it so beautifully. He says, the wasteland, I think, in between the intention and the act, the doer and the deed, in between the intention and the act, false, the shadow. The shadow is Maya. Yes, we'll end with Bill's question.
Supposing that an enlightened person had a stroke
Yes.
and he lost his mind,
Hmm.
what would you attribute? Where would that fit into your picture?
You can plug in the bits very easily. The question was, suppose an enlightened person is to have a stroke and lose his or her mind. How do you fit it into the picture? Now analyze that question. The enlightened person, what does the person think of himself or herself to be? Pure awareness. Pure awareness, not having a brain or nervous system, cannot have a stroke. That's number one. As awareness itself, you cannot have a stroke. What would have a stroke? There are no moving parts to have a stroke. Okay. The brain can have a stroke. It can. And as a result, lose its functionality. The beauty of Advaita Vedanta is it does not contradict science in any aspect. Neither physics nor medical science, those areas are left untouched. What medical science says about the brain and the body, that's exactly what will happen if there is a stroke in the body. But internally, the person is aware. In fact, I can tell you an actual example. Swami Ranganathanandaji, who was the 13th president of the order, I have heard from his sevak, who is his assistant, young monk, that when Maharaj, towards the end of his life, he suffered from the stroke, which left him partially paralyzed. The moment he suffered from that stroke, that young Swami, he told me that it's very clear for us that he was sitting there in the room. Remember, this is a 95-year-old monk. He looks at me and he says, "Call the doctor, something is happening in my brain." And so they called the doctor. And then the stroke happened. And a part of the body was paralyzed. And they had to go to luckily they were able to save him. And physiotherapy. And he regained most of the still there was a tremor in the hand and all of that. And all it did was, it increased his curiosity about the brain. And he read books about the brain. And he would later explain it to you in great detail. What exactly happens in the brain when there is a stroke. What about you, Swami? Oh, I'm fine. Swami Shivananda, the died disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, when he was very ill, he also had a stroke and he was partially paralyzed. When people came to meet him in Belur Math, in the main monastery, he was the president of the order. Swami, we heard, how are you feeling now? He said, oh, I'm fine. I said, no, Swami, we heard about this. Oh, you mean the body? Oh, it's not at all good. It's very bad. It's And they're not being funny. It's not very difficult either. When you make the shift, clearly, it's not you don't have to pretend to be not affected. You can clearly see there is something which is not at all affected, absolutely not affected, and there is something which is affected. And the two are not equally real. That which is not affected is real. That which is affected, you can say it's a tiny part or it's just an appearance. Vedanta would say it's just an appearance in the non-affected real. So that's a good point to end it on. All it says, it sounds very easy. All it says, you have to notice it. It's there for the noticing. Even if you cannot manifest it in your actions right now, even if you say, I slip, I fall, doesn't matter. Even if you just notice it and begin to see it for what it is, the Atman, yourself, that itself gives a great deal of peace and freedom. Tremendous freedom. You will have a core which will always know it's all right. I pray by the grace of the Lord that we may all have this insight in this very life itself. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.